We've probably all seen this picture before. Why? Because Silverback Patriarch is not the best minion. There were a ton of different minions that have the same mana cost but a better stat line, or just a better stat line for less mana. Which then gets you thinking, why exactly is Silverback Patriarch still in the game if nobody would ever play it, as there are so many better alternatives? When Scholomance Academy was released a couple months ago, I thought I should make a video about all the reprints we've seen in that expansion, as there were quite a lot. While it started with something simple like Penflinger and then Elven Archer, which is like the same thing but one is better, there were dozens more. And so I thought, let's take a look at this expansion. After the reveal stream on Wednesday, we had access to every single card. We couldn't play them in games, but we could at least look at the effects, the names, the stats, the mana cost. And so I went through them, one by one, to see how many of those cards were actually just reprints of older cards or have an effect that already exists in the game, but now is reiterated on a different card. And I can tell you, it's quite a couple, quite a few. Out of all the cards we have seen in there, about 70 of those are reprints. That is like more than half. That's a lot. And I put in everything into this video. So let's compare all the cards, going from 1 mana to 10, see what is a reprint, see what is new, and maybe there's some new effects or some interesting things that are usually in different classes but now are available for other classes. My name is Solem, a bunch of you aren't subbed, and I hope this is not going to take too long. The very first thing I saw was that Towncrier got reprinted as Stage Dive. Towncrier is probably better, as it is just a 1/2 minion. What I noticed looking at most of the cards is that there are sometimes just alternatives in Wild that are just better than the cards we now get new. Next we get Warpath, which has the Echo mechanic, we get Witch's Brew, which reads repeatable this turn, and now we also throw Glaive. You add a temporary copy of this to your hand. Why not just use the word Echo or repeatable this turn? Why do we have another way of saying the exact same thing as the cards to the left and in the middle? Spectral Pillager is basically Price Plunderer, but it can go face. We now have Revolve, which is like Evolve and Devolve, but instead of changing the cost, it just changes all minions. Fell Scream Blast is basically Shooting Star, but also has Lifesteal. Also different wording. Youthful Brewmaster is basically Tenbu, just worse. Then we have Hand Buff Warrior with Stage Hand, which is like the Hand Buff Warrior cards we got in Gadget Zen. If you upgrade your Sweet Tooth, if you corrupt it, then it's basically a Shadow Rager. Mystery Winner is Secret Plan, but you also get a 1/1 for free. Wriggling Horror is like a cheap version of Fungalmancer, so this card might actually be good. Wicked Whispers is the better version of Grim Rally, because you don't destroy your minion and you can also have discard mechanics. Electro has the exact same effect as Solar Eclipse, but is a Shaman exclusive card. Then the idea of Snack Run, where you discover a spell and restore health equal to its cost, that is exactly Ivory Knight, just without a minion. We now have a couple Menagerie cards with Ringmaster's Baton, but it buffs a Mech Dragon or Pirate, while the Menagerie cards we had in Karazhan buff a Beast, Dragon or Murloc. We have the 50% version of Cold Light Oracle, but it has +1 health and costs -1 mana. We, for whatever reason, still have like Rush synergy in Warrior, because that turned out well, according to Rastakan, I guess. Yeah, after you summon a Rush minion, give a +2 attack. I think this card will never see play anywhere. Open the Cages is now like Competitive Spirit, a secret that will trigger on your own turn. Those should be the only 2 in the entire game. Every other secret triggers during your opponent's turn. Then obviously Silverback Patriarch is just bad. But I wanted to mention that while Midway Maniac has +1 health and -1 mana, it is basically Druid of the Swarm, but you can't choose what you transform into. Preparation and Lunar Eclipse are pretty much the same thing, but you have to spend 2 mana on 1 to deal 3 damage. We have another card that reads Guess. The other 2 guessing cards are only in Priest, Curious Glimmerroot and Envoy of Lazur. Now we have Game Master, which makes the first secret you play each turn cost 1, which is how cards should be when they make things cost less. Costumed Entertainer and Hidden Catch is the exact same thing, but one gives you a 2 mana 1/2 in addition to it. We now have a new version of Firefly, which looks delicious. Confection Cyclone also adds 1/2 elementals to your hand, but in this case 2 instead of just 1. Kevin Shiny Finder is now a Shaman card and has 2/2 instead of 3/1 in stats. The bumper car is like a way better version of Spark Drill, and it adds pretty much the same thing to your hand. We now have Whack and Null Hammer, which, similar to Brass Knuckles, buffs something after you attack. But instead of buffing something in your hand, which is not that good, you buff something on the field, so that's a little bit better. Then we get Feldori Strider, which is like Ticket Master, just costs +1 mana. The old Emerald Spellstone for Hunter, which can summon up to 4 wolves, is like Petting Zoo, but Petting Zoo is far more aggressive and active, and you don't have to upgrade that, you just play it whenever. Chop Shop Copter is like Magic Fin, but the difference is you get legendaries instead of max. Paragon of Light is pretty much like Insatiable Fellhound, but it doesn't get the +1/+1 buff, as it doesn't get corrupted. Then I just noticed randomly that Bellringer Sentry has the Put a Secret from your deck into the battlefield text, while it's now usually a Cast a Secret from your deck. The Worm, which has an amazing artwork, is like the cheaper version of Blazecaller. That being said, Arcanosaur is still a terrible card. Should cost like 3 mana or 4. The card is not good. Feat of Strength, which is like Stolen Goods, just +1 mana and gives a minion +2/+2, which, fun fact, never saw play. But Into the Fray saw play as it buffs every single minion in your hand. We now have another card that interacts with mana crystals. And the 2 cards that set mana crystals are Mojo Master Zihi and Nosdomu. Some of us might have prayed, and those prayers were heard. We now have Rock Rager, which makes the total amount of collectible Ragers to 8, and if you also count Wax Rager from that one adventure, we have 9 Ragers in total. Now, they're all decent and very powerful, but again, it's Magma Rager, but -1 mana, so yeah, power creep. Knuckles and Trampling Rhino are fairly similar, and here's the fun fact. The only other cards in the entire game that read access, so like the access damage is dealt to something else, are mage cards, and those are Rolling Fireball, Combustion, and Explosive Runes. So interesting that Hunter has a card that reads access, even though it's a mage-specific thing so far. Fairground Fool is literally Hired Gun, just with an upside. Stand Against Darkness is the worst version of Day at the Fair. Darkmoon Statue is like Sneaky Devil or Raid Leader, just, yeah, it has no attack. Unless you're corrupted, then it's not that bad. Scarlet Crusade is just the worst version of Darkmoon Dirigible now. Cloak of Shadows is the only other card besides Valera the Hollow that can give you hero stealth. Also, the artwork is amazing. I really hope it's going to look good in golden. We now have a better version of Hobgoblin or Magic Carpet, and that is Carnival Barker, as the card buffs your minions when you summon them, not play them. Play is when you play a card from your hand and you drag them onto the battlefield, and summon is if they get summoned in any way. We now have Banana Vendor, which is like Banana Buffoon and King Moogler combined. I'm not sure why, but Demon Hunter gets Acrobatics, which is Arcane Intellect but better, and potentially a Sprint for 3 mana, so that's fun. Warrior has access to Sword Eater now, which equips a 3/2 Sword as a 4 mana card. It has 1 more stat point than Arathi Weaponsmith, gives you a +1 attack on the weapon you equip, and is also a pirate, so you can combo it with like Ship's Cannon, which makes Arathi Weaponsmith even worse than he is already. Ring Toss seems like the worst version of Arcane Keysmith, because you have to upgrade that. Also wording, cast instead of put into the battlefield. Now Renowned Performer has Rush and summons 2 1/1s with Taunt, guaranteed when it dies, while Sightless Ranger for +1 mana only has +1 health and has to overkill to summon stuff that doesn't have Taunt. Just thought I'd point out how bad Rastakan's Rumble is. It is such a bad expansion. Overkill is such a bad keyword. We have Knife Vendor, which is the same thing as Shadow Bomber, just gets +1 damage but costs 3 more mana. Fire Breather has the effect of Demon Wrath, but for 1 more mana you get a 4/3 demon. Fantastic Firebird is just Grogfu Master, F for the monkey. Dunk Tank is potentially just Swipe, but +1 damage on all enemy minions. I just thought I'd point out the wording on Nightmare Amalgam, which reads, this is an Elemental Mag Demon Murloc, Dragon, Beast, Pirate, and Totem. Tribe all. And Circus Amalgam just reads, this has all minion types. I feel like 1 is a little bit easier to understand. But yeah, it also has Taunt. Now we have an Optimistic Ogre, which has really good stats for the cost, instead of just Boulder Fist Ogre, and it has the 50% chance to attack the correct enemy instead of the wrong enemy, as it usually is. The Curator is the same thing as Wadley, but you draw a Beast Dragon and Murloc from your deck. The from your deck part is not on Wadley. Also, you draw a Mech Dragon and Pirate. That is like the new pool for Menagerie. Malevolent Strike is just better Assassinate. I don't know, it's just better, like, yeah. Fortune Teller is like a combination of Brainstorm and Violet Spell Swat, things that never saw play. They're just bad, so I don't think that thing is going to see play. Ring Matron reminded me of Piloted Sky Golem, but the difference is that it has Taunt and summons 3/2s instead of like a random 4-cost minion. Thing is though, you don't play Taunt minions that have more attack than health. It's like Lord of the Arena, just not good. Deck of Chaos is another card that swaps the cost. It is the only thing that swaps the cost of attack and cost, while other cards like Prismatic Lance and Tentacled Menace just swap the cost of other cards. Arcane Giant and Umbral Owl are very similar, just 1 cost -5 mana, and is half the stats. Mask of Cthulhu is a normal spell for Mage, but it is literally Timepiece of Horror, which you can only get if you play a 9 mana Rough Farm, which then discovers this 10 mana spell, and it's the exact same thing, but it's -3 mana, so maybe we can buff Rough Farm by a little. I crafted him in golden recently, because he looks pretty cool. Jewel of Nazoth is quite similar to Kangor's Endless Army. I couldn't really find another card that just resurrects 3 specific minions. We have like this Mass Resurrection spell for Priest, but it's not specific, it's just minions that died. So this is kinda similar. Also, the wording is completely different, so yeah, resurrect stuff. Oh, Priest, yeah. We now have Idol of Yasharaj and Blood of Gahun. I pronounced those things perfectly. I can speak World of Warcraft. So Blood of Gahun just casts Shadow Essence, and Idol of Yasharaj is literally Shadow Essence, just twice as big. That being said, the artwork is fantastic, but I don't like Big Priest at all. More great artwork on High Exarch Ural. This reminds me of the Laurel or Ural thingy that we had like 2-3 years ago. It's pretty much just Shavala but, you know, has taunt and looks better, cause girl. Grand Final reminded me of Dragoncaller Alana, but elementals are a little bit better than dragons, especially because you have like Frostlit Jaina, which makes those elementals into lifesteal elementals. Then I wanted to look at Gehun the Blood God, the only other cards in the entire game that change it so that you spend health instead of mana are Warlock cards. And those are Cho'Gall for the next spell, Bloodbloom for the next spell, and Sea Devil's Stinger. Now all those cards are Warlock specific, and now we have a Priest card with an effect that is so far only Warlock specific. Then we have something like a new Portal. We have like Ironforge Portal for Warrior, Moonglade Portal for Druid, and now we have Cenarion Ward, which is like the same thing. And lastly, one of the worst legendaries ever, Ice Hall, is now, yeah, we have Fizzy Elemental. Looks like Sea Elemental from Battlegrounds, but it has Rush and Taunt, so it's like Living Monument plus Rush. And it's Ice Hall, but it can actually go face the turn after. And that is everything I found so far. There might be a couple other cards that I've skipped, I'm also just one person. So if there's something else that I forgot to mention, let me know in the comments down below. That being said, thank you very much for watching. We stream on Twitch, probably at some point. There's a link, just, I don't know. It's in the description, click it, like the video, sub, all that stuff, and take care.